Good morning, students. In the previous class, we discussed about the entrepreneurs, okay, and their qualities and their characteristics, as well as the evolution of the word entrepreneur. And also, we discussed the differences between entrepreneur and a manager. And also, we discussed the difference between intrapreneur and entrepreneur. Okay, intrapreneur and entrepreneur, as well as we discussed in detail about the functions of entrepreneur. Okay, once we know that, so we need to discuss today what is entrepreneurship. What is entrepreneurship? Okay, well, the most of the economists, okay, the entrepreneurship has been a subject of much debatable and it is being kept for a lot of discussions. Okay, so the we different authors will define the entrepreneurship in different way. For example, some people describe it as a risk bearing, some people describe it as innovating, and some people they describe it as thrill seeking. So like this, the many definitions for this entrepreneurship process. So okay, in the conference on the entrepreneurship was held in United States, okay, the term entrepreneurship, okay, which was defined there by many researchers and the engineers as the entrepreneurship is an attempt to create a value through a recognition of business opportunity, the management of risk taking appropriate to opportunity, and through the communicative and management skills to mobilize human, financial, material resources necessary to bring the project to fruition. Okay, so project to action. Okay, then A.H. Coley, he is going to define entrepreneurship as a purposeful activity of an individual or a group of associated individuals undertaken to initiate, maintain, aggrandize, profit by the production or distribution of the economic goods and services. So, like this, the many people define the entrepreneurship, but I like the entrepreneurship definition most. Okay, so that is the entrepreneurship refers, please note down, the entrepreneurship refers to the functions performed by an entrepreneur in establishing an enterprise, just as management is regarded as what managers do, entrepreneurship may be regarded as what entrepreneurs do. In other words, the entrepreneurship is the act of being an entrepreneur. The entrepreneurship is the process of involving various actions to be undertaken to establish an enterprise. It is thus the process of giving birth to the new enterprise is known as entrepreneurship. Okay? The innovation and risk bearing are regarded as the two basic elements which are involved in entrepreneurship. Okay, and we discussed in detail about innovation as well as risk bearing as well as the organizing. Okay, the entrepreneur organizing. Okay, that also we discussed in the previous class. Now, students will discuss or we differentiate between what is entrepreneur and what is entrepreneurship. Okay, so entrepreneur is a person and entrepreneurship is the process. Okay, entrepreneur is a person and entrepreneurship is the process. The entrepreneur is an organizer and entrepreneurship is organization. So innovator is an entrepreneur, innovation is the entrepreneurship. So the risk bearer is an entrepreneur, risk bearing is the entrepreneurship. Motivator, motivation. Creator, creation. Visualizer, vision. Leader, leadership. And imitator, imitation. Okay, So you look at these two differences. Entrepreneur is refer to a person. The entrepreneurship refers to the process. That is what the difference between entrepreneur and entrepreneurship. Okay. So then we need to discuss about the growth of entrepreneurship in India. Growth of entrepreneurship in India. It is going to be classified as two things. One is entrepreneurship before pre-independence and entrepreneurship during post-independence. Post-independence. Okay, now we'll discuss about entrepreneurship during pre-independence. Okay, here, as you know that the evolution of entrepreneurship can be traced back even as early as Rig Veda, when the metal craft, handicraft existed in the society. Okay, this would bring the point home that handicraft entrepreneurship in India was the old as human civilization itself and was nurtured by the craftsmen as a part of their duty towards the society. As a part of their duty towards the society. And before India came into contact with West people, were organized in a particular type of economic and social system of village community. Okay, and then the village communities featured an economic scene in the India. The India towards towns were mostly religious and aloof from the general life of the country. The elaborated caste-based diversion of workers consists of farmers, artisans, and religious priests. The majority of the artisans were treated as village servants. Such a compact system of village community effectively protected village artisans from the onslaughts of external competition, was one of the important contributing factors to the absence of localization of industry in the ancient India. Okay, as you know that the metal handicrafts or the handicraft using other raw material which are existing, okay, in the forest or in the village. Okay, they still, if you go and visit villages, we come across these, the handicraft people. Okay, so we can see the goldsmiths. So they literally prepared gold ornaments using, okay, the hand tools and handmade dies. See, do you think that those handmade dies and tools were being manufactured in the industry? No, they have been manufactured themselves by using lot of tools manually. That is called as goldsmiths. And other set of people, we call it as blacksmiths. Okay, the blacksmiths who literally, those who literally, okay, use hammers, fire to bend the metal, okay, and used to prepare a lot of tools used for farming in the field. Okay, so all the tools are being manufactured by themselves, and even they produce the instruments or the equipments needed for farming by only heating the metal and hammering. Those are all called as blacksmiths. So, and also you talk about the people, the handloom people, okay. So even they literally weave the cloth by using hand equipments, okay, and they are not automated machines, okay. They are also being manufactured by themselves. So like this, there is a certain community people, okay. The certain community people, they have got their this kind of skills of entrepreneurship in their own blood. Understand? Okay. Evidently, the organized industrial activity was observable among the Indian artisans and few recognizable products in cities like, and you can find the most important the metalwares, uh, and also the silk products in Banaras. Okay, Banaras, and also Allahabad, Gaya, Puri, Mizoram, Kashmir. Okay, you name some of the Indian cities. Okay, they are meant for certain handicrafts. Okay, and most of these businesses were set up on the river basin where they took the advantage of transporting these goods through rivers. Okay, that is the means of transportation. Okay, the artisan industries flowered over the period because of the royal patronage was to them to support them. The workshops called karkhanas, okay, they called industries or the workshops called karkhanas came into the existence. The craftsmen were brought into the association pronounced as guild system. On the whole, perfection in the art, durability, beyond the doubt and the appeal of the eye of the individual were distinguishing qualities inherent Indian craftsmanship. Okay, much ever lasting rurals of the name and the fame in the India's in the past. To quote, Bengal enjoyed worldwide celebrity of Kora, Lucknow for chinchis, and Ahmedabad for dupattas and dhotis, Nagpur for silk border cloths, Kashmir for shawls, and Banaras for metal wires. So, like this, okay, the before 18th century, so we find such handicrafts in the blood of Indians. Okay, and slowly the British people came to India. Okay, they wanted to rule the India. So the some of these handicrafts have been overlooked. That is, they have not started facing problems in the business because the many people have been attracted towards the Western products, that is the England products. Okay, I will explain now. The muscle Indian handicraft, which was basically a cottage and small sector, declined at the end of the 18th century. Okay, because of the following reasons: the disappearance of the Indian royal courts who patronized and crafts earlier, and the lukewarm attitude of the British colonial government towards the Indian products, and imposition of the heavy duties on the imports of the Indian goods in the England, and low priced British made goods produced on large scale and reduced to the competing capacity of the products of the Indian handicrafts. The development of transportation in India, facilitating easy access to the British products, and change in the taste and habit of the Indians, developing craziness of the foreign products, and unwilling of the Indian craftsmen to adopt the changing taste and the needs of the people. So this affected the Indian handicrafts. Okay. So now we can look at manufacturing entrepreneurship in India emerged the latent and manifest consequences of the East India Company, the first company which was started by the British people in India was called as East India Company. The advent in India. The company injected various changes in the Indian economy through the export of raw material and import of finished goods to India. Particularly, the Parsis established a good rapport with the company and were much influenced by the company's commercial operations. The company established its first shipbuilding industry in Surat, okay, where from onwards the Parsis built vessels for the companies. The most important was the shipward, the Lauji Niswan, who migrated to Bombay around 1935. He belongs to the Wadia family, gave the birth to many leading shipbuilders of the Bombay in 1677. See, Munji Danji was given a contract for building first large gunpowder mill in the Bombay for the East India Company. Okay, the East India Company involved in shipbuilding as well as they involved in gunpowder industry. Okay, so here the Parsis, okay, these are the first people in India, Parsi people. Okay, those who are entered into the business or entered into the industry. Okay, those people are highly clever, intelligent, knowledgeable, skillful people. So they worked for East India Company. So those England people, so they appreciated the knowledge and skill what the Parsis had, and slowly these Parsi people, so they started their own industry in India. The actual emergence of the management of entrepreneurship can be noticed in the half 19th century, in the second half of the 19th century, that is prior to 1850. Some stray failure attempts were made indeed by Europeans to set up factories in India. In the beginning of the Parsis were the following manufacturing entrepreneurs in India. Okay. The first wave of manufacturing entrepreneurship, except Parsis, all other hailed from non-commercial communities. Why the well-known commercial communities, namely Jains, Vaishyas of Ahmedabad and Baroda, lagged behind the entrepreneurial initiatives throughout the 19th century, can be explained by the two factors. Firstly, improvement of the business climate in the countryside during the period resulted in the increase in the quantum of trade, which assured quick return on the investment. This provides the commercial activity more lucrative during the period. Okay. Secondly, it can also be attributed to their conservative attitude to change from the commercial entrepreneurship to industrial entrepreneurship. The Swadeshi campaign, the emphasis on the indigenous goods provided indeed a proper seed bed for inculcating and developing nationalism in the country. It was the influence of Swadeshi mill. Okay, that is called as Swadeshi mill. It was started by Jamshedji Tata. Still we find the Swadeshi mill. Okay, the spirit of the indigenous strengthened its roots so much in the country that the Krishna Mills, in its advertisement of turbine of April 13, Tribune of April 13, made the following appeal: our concern is financed by the native capital and under native management throughout. The second wave of entrepreneurship growth in India was begun after the First World War. After the First World War, after the First World War, began after the First World War. For the various reasons, the Indian government agreed to discriminating protection to certain industries, even requiring that companies receiving its benefits should be registered in India with rupee capital. So these measures helped establishing and extending factory manufacturing in India during the first 4 decades of the 20th century. These decades' relative importance for Parsis declined, and Gujaratis and Marwari Vaishyas gained that pendulum Indian entrepreneurial scene. Okay, this is all the what has happened before 1947 or before 1947, how the entrepreneurship was there in India. Okay, so now we need to discuss about the entrepreneurship during post-independence, that is after independence. Okay, after taking a long breathe on a political relief, 1947, the government of India tried to spell out the priority to devise a schemes for achieving the balanced growth. When we got independence, when the British people removed from India, okay, so the first government formed in the India after August 1947. So they made a lot of schemes. They devised a lot of schemes for achieving balanced growth of the country. Balanced growth of the country. The purpose of the government came forward with the first industrial policy 1948, which was revised from time to time. The government, in her various industrial policy statements, identified that a responsibility of the state to promote, assist, develop industries in national interest. It's also explicitly recognized that vital role of private sector in accelerating industrial development. For this, enough the field was reserved for private sector. The government took three important measures in industrial revolutions. Okay, so government came to know that after the independence that so the industry is the bread and butter for the nation. Bread and butter for the nation. Okay, don't think that the farming and fielding is neglected. No, they are equally giving importance for the industrialization. Okay, that's why in that context they made a lot of industrial policies. Okay, the first policy was 1948. Okay, so that is industrial revolution. Okay, so to have an industrial resolutions, we need to consider three important factors. One is to maintain a proper distribution of economic power between private and public sector. The second one, encourage the tempo of industrialization by spreading the entrepreneurship from the existing centers to the other cities, towns and villages. Okay, that is they encouraged spreading entrepreneurship, not only clustering at the metropolitan or cities. This entrepreneurship should spread to taluks, should spread to villages. Okay, then third, the disseminate the entrepreneurship acumen concentrated in few dominant communities to large number of industrially potentially people of varied social strata. Okay, the business is not only for the business people, even it is being spread to other communities, those who are possessing the skills, knowledge and other things. Okay, in this context the the government accorded emphasis on the development of small scale industries in the country. Okay, particularly the third 5-year plan. Okay, the government started to provide various incentives, concessions in the form of capital, technical know-how, markets, land to the potential entrepreneurs to establish industries in industrially potentially areas to remove the regional imbalances in the development. Okay, the government took to initiate interested people to varied social strata to enter small scale manufacturing field. The several institutions like Directorate of Industries, Financial Corporation, Small Scale Industries Corporations, Small Industry Service Institutes were also established by the government to support for entrepreneurship for the people in the society. Okay, the reputation of the review of the literature regards the entrepreneurial growth in India thus leads us conclude that prior to 1950, the manufacturing entrepreneurship was negligible, lying dominant in the artisans. Okay, but after 1947, the growth has been started, the entrepreneurial growth has been gained and took a more pendulum towards the small scale industries, medium scale industries, large scale industries, private sectors, public sectors, like that. Okay, so that's only took place after the independence, each government usually rules for 5 years. So whenever the government comes, okay, they derive a 5 year plans. Okay, they derive a 5 year plans for the development of industries and the development of society. Okay, so this is the scenario of industries or entrepreneurship after independence. Okay, students, now we discuss about the role of entrepreneurship in economic development. Role of entrepreneurship in economic development. So as you know that, and also I told in the first class, the entrepreneurship plays a very vital role in the development of nation. Okay, in the development of nation or country or the whole world. Okay, see the industrialization, okay, the wealth of the nation, I repeat once again, the wealth of the nation is going to be measured by GDP, gross domestic product, GDP. So the GDP of the country, which measures the wealth of that country. Okay, so this GDP depends upon the import and export of the goods, how much we export and how much we import. So based on that, the GDP occurs. Okay, so the exporting is nothing but how much raw material we export and how much finished goods we export. Okay, to export raw material, so as you know that we need to have good agricultural facilities, and also we should have the more earth or more minerals in the earth, okay, to export some material to the other countries. So we should have one agricultural, and the other one is if the country consists of rich with minerals, okay, so the export can be done more and more. Okay, we get more and more money, so that increases the wealth. At the same time, so how much we produce, how much goods we retain, and how much goods we export to the other countries, again that increases the wealth of the organization. That's why the GDP of the nation is the measurement of the wealth of the country or the wealth of the nation, and which depends upon the import and export of the goods. Okay, so if this happens more and more, the wealth of the nation increases. Then what is the role of entrepreneurship, okay, in the economic development? The first one, the entrepreneurship promotes the capital formation by mobilizing the idle savings of the public. Okay, it tells the people who are having money or capital in the pocket to invest on the business or the industry. The second one, provide the immediate large scale employment. Okay, more and more industries, more and more jobs. Okay, so that the employment opportunity increases. The third one, it promotes the balanced regional development. Okay, that as I told you that the government supports for more subsidy, more incentive will be given for the people who start their businesses at the villages, okay, and towns. Okay, the towns slowly, then cities, then metropolitan. Okay, so the more facilities will be provided for the rural development. Okay, the host to set up the industries in rural development, so that the regional balanced development takes place. It helps to reduce the concentration of economic power. And the fifth one, it stimulates the equitable redistribution of the wealth, income, and even political power in the interest of the country. The sixth one, it encourages the effective resource mobilization of capital and skill, which must be otherwise remain unutilized and idle there only. That is, the government thought of supporting for the people who have their skills and knowledge, okay, that is going to be tapped. That is nothing but they have to be invited for the doing certain business, and they have to be trained, and they have to be supported for setting businesses or industry. Okay, that is called the encouragement of the mobilization of the skill. And the next one is seventh one, it also induces the backward and forward linkages, which stimulate the process of economic development in the country. The eighth one, there is no mean, at least it promotes the country's export trade. Okay, so that is nothing but we produce more and more, we think of exporting the material to the other countries. Okay, the last one is it increases the GDP of the nation. Okay, now each country, they try to compete with their nation GDPs. Okay, so the wealth of the nation and country is going to be measured, or the GDP. The countries or the nation's GDP is highest. That shows that they are going fast. They are going fast. Okay, so this is how the entrepreneurship helps in development of the economy of the country. That is nothing but the role of entrepreneurship in economic development. Okay, guys, with this I stop my presentation. I'll take down the questions. What is entrepreneurship? Give some definition of the entrepreneurship, which was debated by many people in the conferences or in the social sciences. Second question, differentiate between entrepreneur and entrepreneurship. Differentiate between entrepreneur and entrepreneurship, or the relationship between entrepreneur and entrepreneurship. Don't take it as a differentiate, the relationship between entrepreneur and entrepreneurship. Third question, growth of entrepreneurship in India with respect to pre-independence and post-independence. Growth of entrepreneurship in India. Explain with respect to explain the growth of entrepreneurship in India with respect to pre-independence and post-independence. The last question, identify the role of entrepreneurship in economic development and discuss in brief. Okay, guys, see you.